Hello, good afternoon, and very welcome to the very final episode of our workshop series for the CENTRINNO project. Today, it's my great pleasure to open the session about the core of our five key principles, which are the Fab City Hubs, and I'm really happy to have with me a lot of very insightful speakers from all over the project. They're representing almost all the project partners, all the 9 city pilots, as well as some of the key owners of the concepts. So everyone that has been working in conceptualizing CENTRINNO, as well as those that have been working in making it reality and implementing it to the ground. Before we start, I would just like to open with a quick icebreaker exercise, just to know who we have here in the audience today. So if you can take your phones, scan the QR code and go to Slido, and please let us know if you're already participating. First of all, please let us know what kind of organization you are representing today, if you're from a EU institution, a municipality or an urban authority, a regional or national authority, a university or a research center, an SME or a private company, or any other organization that you may represent. It's quite even with most of the participants from academia, civil societies, other Fab Labs are very well represented today. I know that people are still joining in, so maybe like this is not fully representative, but I see that a lot of people here are coming from Fab Labs or Fab Hubs, which is very promising, this given the topic of today's discussion. But then let's go to our second poll and see if you've already participated in our focus group. You know that we've carried out already four workshops on the main key concepts of CENTRINNO. We started with discussing the concept of a heritage. We then moved discussing how we tackle social inclusion in CENTRINNO. In our third workshop, we discussed circularity, and in our last workshop 1 month ago, we discussed it about vocational training. So today is the conclusive episode, and please let us know if you're attending any of the other events. We're really curious to know about that. I don't see anyone replying. Please scan the QR code so that you can reply. Okay, so I think we can now start by introducing the agenda for the day, because today we have a really dense program divided in 3 main parts. The first part will be dedicated to discuss the concept of the Fab City Hubs and the CENTRINNO toolkit. So we will start with a brief introduction by Thomas Dietz from the Fab City Foundation, who will illustrate the concept and the core principles of the Fab City Hubs, as well as their relevance and significance from a global perspective. And then it will be the turn of Carlotta Fontana Valenti from Volumes, and she will present and illustrate the Fab City Hub toolkit that has been developed within CENTRINNO. So moving from the general conceptualization to a more project-specific conceptualization. And then finally, in this session, we will move to a presentation by Ashley Laughlin from the VAG organization in Amsterdam, who is the coordinator of the 9 city pilots that we have in CENTRINNO, and she will illustrate how we've actually been able to put to the ground and to implement the concept of Fab City Hub in 9 different cities and locations We're then going to have a brief space for discussion after their presentations. There will be another slide open for you to raise your questions. And then we're going to move to a second part of panel discussions and Q&A with the Centrino Fab City Hubs. We are going to have 3 different rounds. The first round would be with the biggest cities we have in Centrino, so with Barcelona, Milan, and Paris, with Milena Juarez from the Fab Lab Barcelona, Liat Rogel from the city of Milan, and Alexandre Mezad from the Fab City Grand Paris. Then the second round would be for middle-sized cities, that is Amsterdam, Copenhagen, and Zagreb, with Sofia Almanza from VAG, Ida Mai Enberg from the city of Copenhagen, and Roberto Vdovic from the Fab Lab Zagreb. And then the final round of discussions with pilots would be for very small towns, smaller towns, that is Blondos in Iceland, Geneva, and Tallinn, with Katarina Schneider from the Icelandic Textile Center, Carolina Becker from Enlefe in Geneva, and Karen Krupp from the Tallinn University of Technology. And then we're gonna, after each of these rounds of presentations, there are gonna be a lot of space for discussion and interactions with the protagonists of the pilots, and then we're gonna wrap up around 2:45 with some final remarks from our participants. So I think that now, without any further ado, I can leave the floor to Thomas Dietz from the Fab City Foundation for his opening remarks and for him to introduce the concepts of the Fab City Hubs. So Thomas, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pietro, and hello, Centrino Consortium, and also Centrino friends and Fab City friends as well, I guess, and they are connected in this in the last focus group of the Centrino project. Well, it's very hard to to mark a beginning of where the Fab City Hubs started on how to define simply a concept, that is actually evolving. But I can share with you some of the reasonings behind the idea of giving birth or trying to promote the creation of a new kind of a third space, as we call them. No, it's not a business, it's not a university, it's not government, it's not civil society, but it's kind of a hybrid that plays a role in a context, in an urban context, especially in neighborhood, that aims to activate communities. This can apply to almost everything, right? But there is something related with the Fab City Global Initiative that I think brings a different dimension to it. One is that the work of Fab City is very attached to Fab Labs, as fabrication spaces. And as you might know, there are thousands of Fab Labs in the world. I think that we're reaching almost 3,000 Fab Labs. Back a few years ago, when I wear many different hats, but in the past, I used to be the director of Fab Lab Barcelona, and part of our work was to trying to reach out to a wider community beyond the students that were using the lab. And we managed to create an extra space outside the lab that was aiming to interface with citizens and trying to create a new type of interactions that was not only related with the technologies available in the Fab Lab and the more, I would say, geeky approach to the Fab Labs, but also understanding what Fab Labs can do, what kind of problems these labs can solve at the local context. Then later on, there was an iteration in Paris, an amazing iteration in Paris that is still happening. I'm not going to give so many details, but it took the concept into a whole new level. And then when we were actually preparing the Centrino project, actually there was a concept that fit very well on trying to, bring this interface, especially when in the context of Centrino, that our focus is neighborhoods, how we can transform neighborhoods that used to be industrial into new hubs of production. And in this case, Fab City Hubs are a very interesting concept because it can help other existing infrastructure that has a previous role, or has an obsolete role in any given context. It can be repurposed and reused and taken into a different dimension. So also the Fab City Hub is important to say that it fits in the whole the whole framework that we're working on, which is a Fab City full stack, and it allows to deliver and to create these connections to the local communities with the local context in which we believe digital fabrication technologies, open source technologies, can play a differential role and transform neighborhoods into productive hubs. So this is all from my side. I leave to the team to go more in detail on how this has been evolving within Centrinno. You will see that this is working in a much more detailed and a more very sharp way. And again, thank you very much for the invitation. And I hope that many people that is here interested in Fab City Hubs or with Fab Labs, I saw in the poll, might be started to think about how to turn those Fab Labs in Fab City Hubs as well, no? Without stopping being Fab Labs. So yeah, over to you, Pietro.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Thomas. This was really quick and comprehensive. So exactly what was needed for a quick introduction for our audience. And now it's my pleasure to leave the word to Carlotta Fontana Valenti, and she will be telling us about the Fab City Hubs toolkit that was developed within the Centrinno project. So Carlotta, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thanks, Pietro. Thanks, Thomas, for this introduction. I see if I will have the control of the screen to make my presentation. I don't see the... Flavio, you can go, because I don't see I can...
It should work. Try clicking with the mouse,
I don't
see if it works.
Yeah, now I can see it. Sorry for this, but yes, I think I got it. No, go for it, because I can. Yeah. So hi everybody. Sorry for this. This small problem. I'm working for Volumes, and together with the Centrinno Consortium, we have a specific role in focusing on Fab City Hub, this innovative typology for shifting production into a local activities for a more sustainable city. And we have three main objectives within our role: to define what a Fab City Hub is. You can go to the next slide. I cannot, yeah. To support pilot city in co-designing this typology based on the global vision of this paradigm shift, but also to local needs. And at the end, go to the next one, and also connect those experiences, so those 9 pilot cities, in order to exchange information, prototypes, and all the activities they have done to improve production in their local environment. You can go to the next one. This, as Thomas was mentioning, comes from the Fab City Global Initiative, a paradigm shift that have been subscribed by the 38 cities and more, that aim to bring back to city local production through the activation of innovative typologies, and share this experience with a global network. Similarly to the network of the Fab City, go to the next one. Sorry. Similarly to the Fab Lab, to the network of Fab Lab, the Fab City network aim to be sustained by those network of innovative space, where the Fab City Hubs will be the typology that will be designed locally by the 9 cities. For defining, go to the next one. I cannot. In order to define what this typology is, we have started looking at the panorama of innovative hubs. We have studied a list of 35 different innovative spaces. Go to the next one. And we have tried to highlight the main the good practices that these places were doing locally, and how the Fab City Hub could have embraced these virtual and starring activities. You can go to the next one. For that, we have a deliverable. Go to the next one. And at the end of this deliverable, by analyzing those virtuous initiatives, we have highlighted 10 main principles Fab City Hub could follow to design their own model. Go to the next one. So these 10 principles for Fab City Hub we have designed are aimed to be guiding paths to design for supporting the 9 cities to design their local Fab City Hub by reflecting on the vision of their Fab City Hub, the community they want to address to, but also the physical infrastructure the Fab City Hubs have to embody locally. Beside these 10 guiding paths, you can go to the next one. We have also worked with the Fab City Foundation in a series of frequently asked questions that aim to respond a very practical question. Is a Fab Lab a Fab City Hub? How can I transition from one to the other? Go to the next one. Sorry. At the beginning, I was mentioning that our role was to define the Fab City Hub. Another important role we have within these 3 years was to support the modelization of this local model of Fab City Hub in each of the 9 pilot cities. For that, we have worked, go to the next one. For that, we have worked on a main output, which I want to present it today, and that is the Fab City Hub Toolkit. So it's a deliverable, but it's also a platform. Go to the next one, which aim to design and propose a roadmap on how to implement a model of Fab City Hub based on different entry points. We have noticed, in fact, that among the 9 pilot cities, all they have these different starting points. Some of them, they have a municipality on board. Other, they are looking for collaborating with the municipality. So the Fab City Hub Toolkit aim to give answer to all these different starting points. Go to the next one. It has been conceived as a process that should be nourished by the activities that we were developing at the theoretical and more conceptual level. Thanks, great. So these are the research we've based the first interaction of the toolkit, but also on the practices, basically the work other partners were doing in CENTRINNO, and the experimentation process itself that were happening in the city. So here I highlighted some of the activities that were taking place locally, and they could have become a useful tool for other cities to replicate that. Go to the next one. The Fab City Hub Toolkit has 2 main objectives within the span life of CENTRINNO: to be a support for pilot city, but also to become a hands-on manual for replication of Fab City Hubs in other cities and beyond. Go to the next one. So as I tell, also to answer to very basic and practical question about what is a Fab City Hub and how I could start implementing, and suggest a roadmap of steps organized around the main features we have identified, like the vision, the community, and the infrastructure. Go to the next one. And also the toolkit aim to draw connection between the tools we can use to start a Fab City Hub, but also the different action I can put in practice. So basically mapping the local ecosystem, building a community, and again, embody the Fab City Hub in physical spaces. Sorry, go on the next one. Briefly goes to the infrastructure, how it is structured. It has a session on what is a Fab City Hub, so the 10 principles and the frequently asked question. You will find the roadmap of 14 steps, how I can set up a Fab City Hub, which tool I should use, and what are the stories I can be inspired. And this will be a session reporting on each pilot city's experience they have to set up their Fab City Hub. Go to the next one. Here is a short sneak peek into the platform. As I was saying, you will find a section about the main step. For example, how could I structure my Fab City Hub as a learning ecosystem? And there you will find some other resources that have been produced by partners in CENTRINNO. And once you have dive into the idea of what it means to have a Fab City Hub as a learning ecosystem, go to the next one. You could find some tools based on the experience of the 9 pilot cities that are briefly explained. They relate to the key concept they want to tackle, and also they report some basic information how you could replicate those tools in your ecosystem, or how you could get in contact with the organization that within Centrinno organize this tool. And I've provided you a second example, like, for example, how could I find an appropriate spatial strategies for my Fab City Hub? And there you will find other, go to the next one, other tools that can help your organization in find an appropriate strategy for your Fab City Hub. I will finish my presentation with this slide. The third main objective of our work in Centrinno as a consortium is to give birth of a network of Fab City Hub that will exchange knowledge and their advances on implementing those models. So I will just leave my presentation with this last image that is one of the next step and further objective of the legacy of Centrinno. I have lost completely my timekeeping. I hope that, I imagine if Pietro do not...
No worries, Carlotta. It was perfect and perfectly in time. So thank you very much for your presentation. That was really clear, and I hope also it triggers some interest and further questions to our audience. Please keep your questions with you for a few more minutes, because we are going to have a Q&A session right after the next presenter, which is going to be Ashley Laughlin from the VAC Future Lab, and she will tell us actually how we've been translating the Fab City Hubs concept and the recommendations and the tools presented by Carlotta in the toolkit into the practice of 9 city pilots. She will give us a general introduction, and then of course we will move on to direct presentation by the pilot. So, but for the moment, thank you very much, Carlotta, and Ashley, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Pietro, and thank you, Carlotta and Tomas, for your presentations. As Pietro said, my name is Ashley. I work at the VAC Future Lab, and I'm lucky enough to coordinate the pilots of Centrinno. So today I'll briefly talk about spatial strategy in relation to the many pilots of Centrinno. Next slide, please. So as you likely know, access to affordable space is a crucial issue in the 9 cities, rather in all cities today. If you can go to the next slide. Perfect. So as I was saying, access to affordable space is a crucial issue in cities today, and this isn't any different for the 9 cities that are part of Centrinno. So securing a spatial presence for makers, for creative communities in our city, it's an important challenge that we're tackling as part of this project. And to do so, the pilot had to determine their spatial strategies and their different Fab City Hub typologies, which I'll touch on in just a moment. But they had to ask themselves, how can we produce long-term sustainable impact on the physical infrastructure of our city? And in thinking about this question, I wanted to highlight 2 points. The first is that there is no one-size-fits-all approach for determining a spatial strategy. While you'll see a bit later today, we have pilots grouped by city size. That's just one of the many elements that will help you determine your spatial strategy. I also want to highlight that Fab City Hubs are multi-layered spaces. So this can include the digital and the physical. So in thinking about Fab City Hubs, you need to consider the many layers. I'll now touch briefly on Fab City Hub typologies. So one of the main challenges of these typologies is to trigger a physical presence to start regenerative processes for inclusive and thriving urban areas. So a Fab City Hubs typology will depend on local challenges and opportunities, but it will also be shaped and informed by these same challenges and opportunities. And in thinking about these typologies, we saw 3 emerge during the project. So centralized, meaning there is a centralized physical location. Distributed, where are there multiple points distributed about physically, and digital. So when explaining these typologies in a simple way, they seem to fit into neat categories like you see on the screen right now, centralized or distributed or digital. But in reality, it's not always or. it can often be and. Next slide, please. So if you think of and, you can combine these different typologies. So for example, we have a pilot that you'll hear from in a bit that initially focused on a centralized hub, but due to unforeseen circumstances, they ended up pivoting and going forward with a distributed typology. The intent and hope is that someday they can have a centralized space, but in the same effort, they'll continue to manage that distributed network that they've created. And I'm trying not to say too much because you'll hear from the pilots, and I don't want to steal their presentation, so stick around for those. But through the project, these pilots in Centrino had to explore these different models, or excuse me, typologies. So what they envisioned at the beginning might not be where they ended up. And at the end of the project, or as we near the end of the project, our pilots have now concretized their typologies in addition to elements like governance structures that will help guide them into the future at the project's end. Next slide, please. Thank you. So if you are considering your spatial strategy, there are many, many elements you can consider. And I've listed several here, but this is by no means a comprehensive list. Again, no one size fits all. So you'll see today in the future presentations that the strategies differ, the important elements that help them determine their strategy differ. And if you're in the middle of trying to determine your spatial strategy, I recommend that you do check out the Fab City Hub toolkit that Carlota just presented. It's a great tool. There's a specific chapter or section. I don't know if it's called the chapter when it's online, but it's specifically on the topic of determining your spatial strategy. So I'm hopeful that you can access that toolkit if you are in the same place that our pilots were a while ago. And I'll hand it back to Pietro.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ashley. That was really nice and an interesting presentation. And now I would invite all of our guests to move on again to the Slido because I've seen already some questions popping out. And if you do have other questions for our speakers, please don't
understand anything of what I've said.
And raise them. Sorry, please those. Okay. So I do already see one question. It is related to for Ashley, who would say it is how common is it for an in-process Fab City Hub to change its typology, and is this common and this frequently occurred during the implementation of CENTRINNO? So I would probably start with this question. I know there is another question in the chat. Please type it here on Slido. But Ashley, please you can start replying to this first question.
Sure. So how common is it for a change in typology? I would say within the Centrino project, it was fairly frequent, so it wasn't an anomaly for this to occur. There are various elements that contribute to this. So you might be in contact with an unforeseen circumstance, you might have a change in stakeholders, or you might have an idea of what your typology is, and through engagement with various stakeholders, with various community members, understand that actually a different typology or combination of typologies rather better serves your needs, better serves the aims of the community. So I'll say that nothing is set in stone. Community stakeholders, neighborhoods are constantly changing. So it's not standard that you necessarily say this is what it is and this is what it will always be. So I would say it's frequently common that this occurs.
Carlotta, I see.
Yeah, I wanted to answer that is very frequent also because there are changing situations in the pilot cities. Usually they plan maybe something, but they could not access to the buildings, so they change their own strategy in a more distributed one in order to wait for the availability of the space. Or there are some that have been more centralized, that started with a building, but then they realize that to have more stakeholders to reach more part of the city, they need to move in other neighborhood, and that's where the more distributed typology starting to be in the plans. That's it. I wanted to answer this, and maybe I don't know, Pietro, if I have to keep answering, but the second one is more related to mine. Maybe I can give a very quick answer. We have a specific page in the Git book.
Just for people to know, how can people, an organization engage with the Fab City Hubs toolkit and how can they contribute to it. So maybe it was not seen by everyone, so just speak it out. So
Yeah,
please.
I can put in the chat the link to the page. We have imagined to start a discussion with other organizations that want, and they can provide us feedback on some. I will put it in the.
I see two new questions popping up, and one is, what is the difference between Fab Labs and Fab City Hubs? And the second one is, what is the interest of a municipality to become a Fab City Hub? I don't know who wants to answer. Probably Thomas and his daughter are willing to reply to this question. So Thomas, please.
Yeah, sorry. I had to babysit a bit. Very quickly. Fab Labs have emerged from, as you know, it's a network that has, it's a fabrication spaces that have grown from a network that emerged from the Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT. They're quite centering the technology development and technology democratization, right? What Fab City Hubs wants to bring to the table is a complementary role in relationship to Fab Labs. And actually, from my point of view, also a Fab City Hub can contain a Fab Lab inside, can contain a bio lab, a food lab. It is the case in some of the examples, and can become like a more permeable interface to a local community, to a local context, and be more in the service of the neighborhood and not just only in the service of technology per se. Yeah.
And what about
Noelia agrees.
What would be the interest of a municipality to then become a Fab City Hub and to host a Fab City Hub? Maybe also our guys can tell, and maybe this is a question I can also raise to representatives of municipalities that are here today at the moment. So I refer to Liat, to Ida, and or Serena, or anyone from other municipality. What has been your motivation to join a Fab City Hub? But I would also hear it from you, Thomas, from the Fab City Foundation. So what would be the question, the argument you would give to a city to get into the net, and then to the cities, why did they do that?
For sure. Every year we open, it's an open application, and you can apply to become a part of a Fab City network. It's a process that we host once a year, and we try to welcome cities and our yearly event, which is the Fab City Summit. It's a quite open process, and you can actually ask. Some of the member cities are here and can also share some of the experiences maybe in this spirit of cross-pollination. It's quite again a quite straightforward process, but it's not so hard to become part of a network. I think what we're trying to work is on making more meaningful to be part of a Fab City network per se, no? And then later on, I think there are different ways in which you can engage, different engage levels in which you can engage with the network by hosting programs, hosting events, and also hosting infrastructure like Fab City Hubs, as is happening in some of our city members.
All right, great.
Get in touch with us, of course. Go to our website and get in touch to apply for next year's cycle that is gonna happen in Mexico in August.
All right, great. Even great location. And I know there is Paco from the Mexican network here connected, I believe. So Liat or Serena or Ida, do you want to comment something on this from the city perspective?
Yes, Pietro, thank you. I think that in our experience, it was a good opportunity to reflect inside the city, what would it mean to develop a Fab City Hub and how to work better on becoming something similar to a Fab City. And so I think that for a municipality, of course, it has to be related to a general vision about where the city wants to go in terms of production, sustainable production, and activities dedicated to maker spaces. And the city has the possibility to discuss how expensive are spaces where makers can stay, and how do you manage the local production. And this, I think, is not easy, but very important, because then you can really influence some of the opportunities to become a Fab City. So it's an opportunity that I think through CENTRINNO we have seen as very interesting.
Thanks, Liat. Ida, you want to say something from the perspective of Copenhagen?
I think for us, it is very interesting to see how we can maintain a diverse neighborhood, actually, and support the small manufacturing businesses, because they are really being forced out of the city. So this is a way to make them more resilient. So we can still be an interesting and diverse city many years from now.
Thank you, Ida. I've seen another question, I think from Peter Ramsden. I would ask you to hold this for the presentation of the case studies, because we are going to now move to the next section of pitch presentations by our city pilots, and then there will be followed by specific Q&A sessions with the participants of each of the pilots. So like those more specific questions, I think, are way better in the next session. So this is the occasion to move actually to the first round of discussions with our city pilots. And as you can see from the map, we're going to start with the largest cities that we have in our consortium. That is Barcelona, Milan, and Paris. And therefore, this session will work like this. Each pilot will have 3 minutes for giving a very quick pitch presentation, and then we are going to open a panel discussion. So the first one in line will be Milena Juarez from Barcelona. She works at Fab Lab Barcelona, and I will give her the floor in just 1 second. So Milena, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here representing the pilot of Barcelona. So just to mention that we are 3 partners in this pilot. We are composed by Fab Lab Barcelona, the Educational Department of Catalonia, and Poblano Urban District. And our experimentation around the topic of Fab City Hub happened in the context of the Poblano neighborhood. So just giving a bit of context in the city. And I would just go through this very quick pitch in terms of explaining our main vision for our hub. So our vision is to actually establish a dynamic, inclusive ecosystem of productive spaces here in Barcelona, where we can explore opportunities for this convergence of traditional craftsmanship and digital fabrication, as was already introduced before, and promote this network that is part of the Fab City Hub as, let's say, a catalyst of community empowerment, but also sustainable innovation. So the way that we see in practical terms is actually this concrete network of interconnected spaces. So here I'm not referring to a single location, but actually a collaborative effort of different partners that are being engaged since the beginning of the project. And together with this strong network, we will keep building collaboration, considering this global knowledge that is coming, but also taking advantage and the local resources to drive our values of circular economy, recognizing all the diverse talents that we have in the community. And I would say also that our vision extends beyond productivity, but actually prioritize societal transformation and knowledge exchange as a way of keep working with inclusivity, diversity, and accessibility as principles. And before explaining our strategies to engage local communities here in Barcelona, just to mention that we took 2 different approaches. So firstly, we started considering our Fab City Hub at IAC, which is Educational Research and Innovation Center, where Fab Lab Barcelona is also based. So we had this first hub as like, let's say, more centralized model. And in the 3rd sprint of the project, we had the opportunity to explore the temporary use of one of the most emblematic heritage sites of Barcelona, which is called Calalier. So it was an important building that was a textile industry in back in the 60s, and today it's considered the Urban Innovation Center of Barcelona by the City Hall. And in both spaces, since 2021, we have been developing a series of activities to engage with the community. And here I will mention just a few of them: vocational training programs for both professors and students, emotional networking sessions to foster a sense of belonging, valorization of heritage items, practical workshops, either for craft techniques with members of our local network of craftspeople, but also digital fabrication workshops, so bringing this interconnection between different practices, roundtables with key experts and key actors of Barcelona in different topics, guided tours, also facilitated gatherings between makers and craftspeople, nurturing this skills sharing. And just to highlight, I don't know if I'm running again out of time. I would highlight also the participatory exhibition that we did in collaboration with many actors involving craftspeople, local makers, the municipality, and many other people that are collaborating in creating this space during 2 months, in which we have a series of activities also open for the citizens. For the future, our spatial strategy for the Fab City Hub in Barcelona, we would like to, we will keep exploring this physical structure in a more distributed way. So taking the advantage of having a diverse number of infrastructures of different partners already engaged in Barcelona, which include not only digital fabrication infrastructure, but also public spaces, creative hubs, innovation hubs, and craft centers. So the idea for our spatial strategy is to make a better use of this existing infrastructure that we luckily have already established in Barcelona, and find an innovative and inclusive way of collaborating with these partners to generate local impact and added value for communities.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Milena.
Thank you very much.
That's great. And now we move from Barcelona to Milan with Liat Rogel. Liat, floor is yours. And
yes, hello everybody. So I will tell you a little bit about the Milan pilot, which in these years was developed by the municipality of Milan and NEMA, so a public and a private stakeholder. And when we started, let's say, the vision of the Fab City Hub, it took some time, of course, to build it, and it was co-built. I will speak about it. The vision was, how do we speak more about production in the city, and especially about circular production in the city, considering that we would like to imagine the city as a place where in each neighborhood you have access to services and an offer of products and spaces which are useful for your life. So in other words, we took the idea of the 15-minute city and asked ourselves why usually production and consumption are not part of the 15-minute city scheme. So it was our aim to bring this layer of the Fab City idea into the 15-minute idea. So the Fab City Hub would be something, a space, a physical digital space that would assist this vision, that would bring it forward. We have decided for a collaborative approach. So this is how we engage our community engaged and created our community in Milan. So for example, our main events were made on open calls where we wanted to see who is already doing circular economy, circular production and consumption in the city, and to call them in to co-design both the vision and then the community work. So to give this community the visibility that they need and somehow the identity. And the thing about identity brings me to the last part that regards the space or the spatial aspect. We have decided not to dedicate a centralized space, but we do use a cultural space base for all of the events, so to recognize this space as a place where things related to local and circular economy happen. And we are also quite successful of having the availability of this space also for our community in these months for meeting and encounters. This is an ex-industrial space, which tells us also that through the vision of the Fab City Hub, we are trying to redefine the identity of Milan, no longer as an industrial city, but definitely as a city that not only hosts the main events of fashion and design and not only sells, but also bring back production and circular production in the city texture. That's it about Milan in 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Let. Yeah, I know these 3 minutes are quite a constraint, but there's a lot of space for discussion. So for answering more direct questions from our participants and guests. So I think now it's time to move to Paris with Alexandre Mazard from the Fab City Grand Paris. And Alex, the floor is it's yours. From one fashion city to another fashion city, basically.
Thanks, Pietro. Hi, everyone. So it's always a challenge to speak after Layat due to the clarity of her speech, but I will try. So as a bit for context, I will begin by explaining the vision of the Paris pilot within CENTRINNO. Our main focus was to rethink a sustainable urban food system through an ecosystem of Parisian and suburb actors and places. So that's for the distributed part, but we choose to anchor our dynamic in a single building. And within this building, we chose to integrate, for example, a food lab associated, to a very local supply chain. So it was really the core of our pilot, how to mix an ecosystemic dynamic with to enhance.
I'm afraid Alex connection froze for a minute. I don't know if Vincent wants to speak up. Okay, he's back.
I'm back?
Yes, you're back.
Sorry. In the 19th district, as the majority.
I'm afraid that there is a quick connection problem for Alexandra.
Fab City of Paris stems out from the work of Volume. So Carlotta is a member of Volume, among other active actors in the Parisian innovation milieu, and focusing on building up transdisciplinary spaces, allowing people and heterogeneous actors like academics, institutions, or creative industries collaborating to achieve greater goals with a higher purpose than individually. So it's the richness thanks to the collaboration of different actors. They were also tacitly in favor of the necessary return of productive activities in the city center. So that's for the Fab City Global Initiative dynamic. So that's for the vision. Now, regarding how we engage the local community around our Fab City Hub, we built our local community by breaking the walls, if I may say, and blurring the frontiers between the space and the neighborhood. First of all, by collaborating with social structures nearby. So, for example, emergency shelters for vulnerable people after work hours, social meals organization with the close-by Salvation Army, and so on. And then by organizing friendly and open events, or like it's very pragmatic, but dance and cooking lessons, yoga lessons, repair workshops, and thematic events, mostly on the CENTRINNO pillar, by the way. Fab City Grand Paris was beside in charge of the event strategy, which is an important part to gather and to mobilize the community. And we organized several thematic conferences and seminars, like the city as a circular deposit, how to eat the city, eat the way to eat, to consume the city, ancient ways to rethink urban agriculture, and so on. Now for the spatial strategy of the Fab City Hub. So with the aim of being a lighthouse federating an ecosystem of innovative spaces, focusing on sustainable transition, maker culture, and food ecosystems, the Fab City Hub Paris spatial strategy had to take into account the structure of the building itself. So it's very important because the Fab City Hub Paris is placed in a single building from the brutalist architectural movement. So the challenge was to create a welcoming space in an area with a little light and poor access from the street. Due to the fact, moreover, that the Fab City Hub is situated in the car park, the ancient car park of this building. So the first solution was to use maker-style wooden signage in the building's lobby. The other idea was to preserve as much as possible of the graffiti dating from the time when the place was a squat, because it has a long history of underground community event. The hub itself was transformed using eco-design as much as possible with recycled wood and second-hand furniture to accentuate the warm atmosphere and distribute from a central welcoming space with one collective kitchen. So it distributed a food lab, an atrium to host the main events, and a meeting and co-working space, and a Fab Lab. Now, regarding a broader spatial strategy, the Fab City Hub is part of a cooperative called Oasis 21 that runs different places dedicated to the social and sustainable economy, still in the northeast of Paris. So in very, very close loop of places. All these places are located, as I just said, in the northeast of Paris, the most popular area of the city, and are mixing creative services and productive activities. I'm still good regarding the time.
Perfect. Yeah,
Perfect.
we are good with the time, and I think we can, if you're finished, we can move to the spotlight, to the panel discussion with Liat, with Alex, and with Milena, which I'm inviting to join the here as on stage, meaning spotlighting them on Zoom. And please, to the audience, keep asking your questions on the Slido. And we've received two very interesting questions for the moment, and I will basically combine them all together. And it is one is, how do Fab City Hubs exist? Do they exist as legal entities or as informal collaborations among stakeholders? And this is the first part of the question. And the second is like, how do you deal with rents? How do the rents for your spaces compare with the market? So I don't know who wants to start replying this very complex and intricate question. Maybe starting from what is the legal forms of your Fab City Hub, and then moving to how you deal with the space, with the renting of the space. So I would say let's start from Milena, then Liat and Alex.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the first question, can you hear me well?
Yes.
I'm still, yeah, okay. Yeah, in our case, we are still in the, even though we had the opportunity to build this strong network of local organizations, we are still in the phase of being an informal network, but we are already working on the manifesto and the values, principles that we share together, and working in a strategic agenda for next year. But we haven't yet signed a formal collaboration. But we are still deciding what type of model we'd like to follow. And of course, here I'm referring to more than 25 organizations, so it becomes a bit challenging to resolve it or solve this format in one single meeting. So we are still beyond the product of CENTRINNO. We'll keep doing this as meetings. Actually, have one Monday, the last of the year, and we were working this agenda for next year. So I'm super glad also to announce. Should I go for the second question? Then we do the round.
About the rent, about the rent of the spaces.
Exactly. So
rental.
Yeah, of course. So this is really connected to the strategy that we took in the end. So we started exploring, of course, the IAC as the space, because it's where Fab Lab Barcelona is hosted, and as partner in IAC and Fab Lab Barcelona as partners in CENTRINNO. It was our headquarters already. But when we moved to exploring this public space that is the Calalier, and where the Bit Habitat Innovation Center is based, also we didn't have to pay anything, so we create a collaboration with them. So making use of this public space and opening actually the space for the community and citizens to participate. And I would say that for now, because our strategy is really to have this distributed way of working, we might consider activities spread around the city. So it's really about like considering that we already have a very rich environment with different machines, processes, and things happening. And for now, we are not considering to arrange like one single space for hosting our Fab City Hub. And this is one of the reasons why we are actually going to this model, because we understand that the city already has such viable resources, and we will keep exploring the idea of already using the spaces that are rented by the organizations.
Thanks, Milena. Liat?
Yes, the issue of spaces is quite urgent in Milan. Spaces for makers, for producers, as well as housing has become very expensive. It's very difficult to, from one hand, promote the local production in the city, and on the other hand, think that the small producers would actually stay in the city paying a very high rent. So part of the actions that will happen through plan. So Milan has one of the main results of the CENTRINNO project for us is that Milan has written and elaborated a plan for circular economy in fashion and design. And one of this plan will be presented soon to the public. And one of the issues of this plan is recognizing this challenge of spaces, and would put in the future actions the focus on finding solutions that may then become centralized spaces or incentives or sort of guarantee for producers to have a lower price. So this will be all part of the plan of circular economy for fashion and design.
Perfect. Thanks, Liat. And Alex?
Yeah, so as I said, the Fab City Hub Paris is a part of a broader legal entity. It's a cooperative called Oasis 21, running 3 places in the northeast of Paris. So the Fab City Hub is the legal name of one of the place run by Oasis 21. What it means is that there is a much power to act with this ecosystem of different places. A lot of synergies and connections are available. Regarding the how we make the place economically and financially sustainable, like we don't have much solutions. It's always by using the different spaces available in the site, in the place. So co-working Fab Lab installation use, or the food lab use. So individual or small companies are renting some spaces in the building. That's quite all. And maybe historically, it's interesting to note, it's that initially it was like a convention between the real estate department of the Paris City Council and Oasis 21 to open the place, which was quite like not used, an historical building not used. So they find like some kind of common ground to use part of this building for creative and productive activity.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alex. And I also reconnect to one of the questions that was raised. I will give a general answer about the governance models in CENTRINNO. Yes, in our pilot activities and with our partners, core part of the work done in CENTRINNO was that exactly of establishing and designing and understanding what are the possible governance models for these Fab City Hubs. So there has been a lot of work going on, and we can share in the chat the state of the art of our work on the governance models. And of course, more information will be released also by the end of the project. As you can see, like there are very different possible arrangements and governance models that we're applying. You've seen three models now. You will be see 6 more in the coming minutes. So for the moment, I wish to thank very much Alexandre Mezad, Milena Juarez, and Liat Rogel for presenting their cities examples. And now it's time to travel geographically to other areas of Europe, namely to Amsterdam, Copenhagen, and Zagreb. So it will be my pleasure to give the floor in just a minute to Sophie Almanza from VAG Future Lab, and as she will present the activities done by the pilot in Amsterdam, indeed. So Sophie, the floor is yours. As soon as please, Sophie, floor is yours.
Hello. To give a little bit of background, Amsterdam North is undergoing rapid transformation with intense gentrification and leading to the displacement of long-standing residents and makers. And this poses a significant challenge as the incoming population appears increasingly homogeneous and those leaving sharing the same characteristics. And this shift is particularly impactful on small-scale local production and local makers, and the skilled practitioners essential for achieving circularity goals. And that's why the vision of the Fab City Hub in Amsterdam was centered around furthering circularity for local makers. And the goal was to integrate the area's industrial heritage into urban renewal by establishing affordable workshops with a long-term perspective. And the focus on circular production and a network of makerspaces aim to address challenges such as increasing costs of workshops within city boundaries and the temporary nature of rental contracts. And to address these issues, we have implemented a multi-phased approach. The visibility of makers. We've highlighted the diversity of the community through exhibitions, mapping initiatives, and the collecting of stories. And also because of the mapping activity, we found out that 80% of makers need to leave the area in 5 years. So that was quite disturbing. And by doing so, we aim to foster also an understanding of the unique individuals who contribute to the area's vibrancy. And secondly, we did a lot of community engagement and policy advocacy. So we engage in extensive conversations with local creators to identify the concerns and problems, and we analyzed these issues and translated them into policy language that resonates with municipality authorities. And this ensures that the local government comprehends the challenges faced by our local makers and can take informed action. Third, we created space for collaboration and learning, and recognizing the need for increased space, networking opportunities, and knowledge sharing, we have undertaken lobbying efforts to influence public opinion. Like we wrote letters to the newspapers, which got published and a lot of attention. And this includes organizing roundtables, discussions. And in December, we're also opening our hub, the space known as an HMC satellite. You see in the picture how hard we're working on making it happen in December. And as a dependance of Maakschap, the alliance we set up. And it will serve as a space for vocational training and as a hub to get together with the network of makers. And in addition, we opened up existing spaces at the Vocational Training Institute for makers in the city, like the HMC lab for prototyping and their machinery. So the lab of HMC also opened up now on a regular basis. And fourth but not last, and last but not least, Maakschap. We wrote a manifesto for the initiative Maakschap, and Maakschap represents a unique alliance of a distributed hub where individuals come together to share knowledge, resources, and a sense of solidarity. And we will continue to organize roundtable discussions and offer maker skills courses to strengthen the collaborative spirit among the local makers of our community. And in summary, our initiative aims not to only address the challenges posed by gentrification and circularity goals, but also to empower and celebrate the diversity of the local makers. By fostering a collaborative community, we believe we can create a more resilient and vibrant Amsterdam North for everyone. That's it.
Great, that was perfect, Sophie. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the Amsterdam pilot as well. And now it's time to move a bit further north to Copenhagen. And Ida, the floor is yours from City of Copenhagen.
Thank you, Pietro. Well, like Amsterdam and all the other cities, Copenhagen has undergone a comprehensive gentrification process since the 90s, leaving only few areas undeveloped. And these few ones are also facing development in a near future. So that's why our focus has been to strengthen the ecosystem in the pilot area, Copenhagen Northwest, in order to make the small creative and manufacturing businesses more resilient, as they are very challenged both by the dwindling selection of workshop spaces as well as their price. We didn't have a physical starting point for creating our hub. So based on workshops and meetings on both city level and local level, we decided on initiating a distributed hub, a hub structured as a network of existing local entities with the primary objective of supporting the exchange of knowledge and resources among the members, but equally important to give them a unified local voice in relation to political discussions and the development of the area. To initiate our hub, we focused on identifying and engaging two types of actors: organizations that already tap into the Fab City agenda, albeit unknowingly, and small creative businesses, since they are the ones struggling the most. We invited all the identified stakeholders to join a series of meetings. And during these meetings, we facilitated collaborative processes to map common interests and potential initiatives that the participants prioritized and developed themselves afterwards. One of these initiatives was to apply for external funding of the network, and they succeeded in raising 400,000 Danish kroner for the period of 23 to 24. Throughout this process, the local makerspace, which is closely linked to the municipal youth club, has played a central role, since this entity possessed both the necessary resources in terms of time and knowledge to successfully apply for funding. And they have also taken on the role as network coordinator now, ensuring the continuous development of the network. So the spatial strategy of the hub is to continue this distributed approach and strengthen the network. And hopefully it will grow bigger and stronger and making the members more resilient, so they can continue to have their business in the area and attract new ones as well. And I think by establishing the pool for creative businesses in urban environments, the city of Copenhagen has also made it possible for this model to be spread to other areas of Copenhagen. Yeah, that's it from me.
And this is great. Thank you very much, Ida. And now we're shifting the focus. We're moving to Zagreb, which is of course a city that is in between of the post-industrial transition. So my pleasure is to give the floor to Roberto Vdovic from the Fab Lab Zagreb and the University of Architecture in Zagreb to present their activities there. So Roberto, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks to all who are joining us. Yes, in 3 minutes I will try to squeeze all the efforts we done in during the projects. Since we were approached by the local community in Sesvete, we envision Fab City Hub as a community-driven organization which should play important role in urban regeneration of former factory, where building and future hub was supposed to be situated. And to be also inspiring not only for Sesvete, for neighborhood, but also for many other brownfields in Zagreb, but also in Croatia. And transformation of factory in Dubrovnik, which is just recent example, is one of such example. Initiative of the Fab City Fab City Hub in Sesvete was and still is bottom-up oriented, which also might be reason for difficulties we are facing while we are communicating with the city. Therefore, engaging community was not about articulating activities, but instead of encouraging or reassuring necessity for them, because we got those community already engaged somehow. that was somehow focus on of the first sprint, where we are, let's say, re-engaged community, and in the second one we work with a specific focus group during the sprint 2. Similar to one of the important part of Hub, which is consist of 3 spaces: Makerspace, which is a kind of idea factory; Fab Lab, which is prototyping and co-working space. So in Makerspace, everyone is welcome. So Fab City Hub vision is to be maximum inclusive, to involve everyone with a similar mindset. And maybe just to jump to answer the question about rent, which I write also in the chat, this is somehow related to the engagement of the people who will join Hub. Depending on their engagement and participatory process regarding the whole innovation process and the regeneration, they will be, let's say, free of the rent if they work with the community. So to continue, in the events like Steam Day or Steam Week, we work more with the with the activities as a training for trainers, where we were engaged different specific groups, which then they can work with the young people and spread more information or more activities with a wider younger population. While Maker Fair in Zagreb is more oriented to the families and wider community. So on both sides we work with the communities, because vision was on the beginning, in the past. Current situation, because we unfortunately didn't get space at this moment, is to work with the community. So we are very follow this Fab City toolkit, and when space will be done, we will have a program which we defined. I mentioned 3 main spaces, and we also have a defined model of working. And what is also shown here, it's 3 different topologies we are experimenting during the project. One is when we start, it was very centralized. We hope that community will just jump into the hub. During the project, because we were lack of accessing space, we experimenting with a distributed model. We are trying to find the different roles of those different stakeholders and actors, and as a result of final topology is a kind of mixture, where we are discussing still with the actors what will be the role when hub space will be operating, and how they will work with their smaller community, and somehow forward them to the Fab City Hub. So this is briefly what we done during the CENTRINNO project, and we also proud to develop a kind of small light Fab Academy curriculum we call the Designing the Future, where we somehow bring everything, all experience we got here in Fab Lab Zagreb, to work with young people, to prepare them for the situation in the future, where when they will have Fab City Hub operating in Zagreb.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really a lot of activities you are carrying out in Zagreb. And now, please stay with us, Roberto. We are also inviting to the stage. Let's to speak it so to speak Ida and Sophie. For a round of panel discussion. I don't know. I don't see any new questions popping out from the Slido. Please do so by going to Slido and entering the code 1249328, and you can raise any sort of question. But I would already have one question in the back of my mind for all the three pilots. And the question is, what was the impact in terms of physical changes to the urban landscape that your activities has brought about in this 3 years of experimentation? So maybe Sophie, you want to start, then Ida and Roberto.
Yeah, so the physical space, what the impact was on a physical space?
The impact in terms of physical changes to the urban landscape that your activities have brought about. So have you been able to influence any urban transformation processes somehow?
I think that's really difficult in that area. That area is changing super fast, and like all the plans that were already there have been there. But I think we did have a big impact on the local policy influence. So that was really great. So I'm hoping that we will have an impact on the physical landscape, urban planning for the future. But I would not say that we already seen a physical impact from the last 3 years. But that's, I think, almost impossible in that area, to be honest.
Yeah, and even only 3 years. I mean, I think that was a trigger. Like what I always like to say about CENTRINNO has been a trigger for long-lasting processes. So when you've been able to show what is possible, to start negotiations with the authorities, and then to access the policy-making arena in a positive way, and to actually have a place at the discussion table. I think this is the most impact, the best impact. I don't know if Ida, which actually represents a city authority, so they would have like probably a different role in these negotiations, but still, Ida, please.
Yeah, but I think in a way the same goes for us. We have had an impact on the municipal strategies, and will have that on local plans as well. But this means that if CENTRINNO does really well, we cannot see changes in the neighborhood because the buildings will stay there. So I think that for us as a municipality, hopefully we will see more transformations instead of just tearing industrial heritage down and building new things. But we cannot see anything on physical level just yet when it comes to building stock. But the mapping of CENTRINNO has shown really interesting pictures, because when we mapped all our small creative actors, it showed such a clear picture that almost all of them were located in the 3 streets of the neighborhood with the most industrial building stock. And I think this is a clear picture that this industrial heritage really provides the physical structures needed for small creative businesses. And knowledge like that is good and tangible to bring upwards in the municipal system. So hopefully our politicians will prioritize this area.
Yeah, thank you, Ida. And I actually also think that it actually is an impact not to have physical changes. I mean, to being able to preserve some historical spaces and places and allow them to keep doing their functions, or to have new functions closer to the needs of the community, is actually a substantial impact, preventing like a transformative change that is probably not in the best interest of the living community of the area. I know also Roberto may have a lot to say about this, so please, Roberto. Not too much.
It's something what you also already mentioned, and that's how we see Fab City Hub as a kind of trigger for urban regeneration, where innovation and creativity is on one place, work with the community together and deal with the challenges of urban transformation. And I have to say, unfortunately, this former factory doesn't change for last 20 years, single bit. But changes are actually happening because they have a different vision of some of the places, some of the buildings in the factory, and now working with the community and showing different opportunities to use large-scale buildings, and city and authorities also considering a different use of those spaces instead of just demolish them. What was the plan on the beginning? So we are maybe not physically seen at the moment, but in the plans, especially for the plans for the next year, they are really consider something what was done in last 2 years, let's say, in the second part of the CENTRINNO, as something what can change the plans what was originally planned by the authorities. So influence and impact by the community and from the community, I hope it will be received by the authority, not ignored in the future. So
great. Okay, thank you very much. And I don't know if there are any other questions from the audience. If not, are any other remarks from our panelists? If not, I think we can move to the final round of pilot presentations, going to an even say smaller scale of cities and towns. We're going to go first to Iceland, to the small city of Blönduós with Katharina Schneider, that will present the local pilot, and then we're going to Geneva with Carolina Becker presenting her activities, and finally we're going to Tallinn with Karin Krupp presenting the activities of the Tallinn pilot. But for the moment, it's time to give the floor to Katharina Schneider from the Icelandic Textile Center. So Katharina, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So yes, hello from Blönduós, the smallest pilot. We're in the XS category. One of our main aims in CENTRINNO was to further develop the textile center in Blönduós, which is a small town in northern Iceland, as a textile hub and makerspace. So we already had studios and experts for traditional handcraft work, but wanted to create a physical space, a textile lab, with equipment for experimentation with digital textiles and local resources in line with the principles of a circular economy. Another aspect was research, so we teamed up with the University of Iceland to facilitate research on the historical heritage and gender dimensions of domestic crafts and textile work. So from the very beginning, we knew we wanted to focus on all of Iceland, not just our local pilot sites, regarding the research, but also regarding the makerspace and creating a network fostering collaboration. We wanted everybody to know about the opportunities that lie within textile innovation, education, and local production. And we wanted makers from all around the country to come and use the lab. So community for us always meant the textile fiber community as a whole. This doesn't mean that our local community, the inhabitants of our town, and Northwest Iceland are not equally important. We collaborated with the local municipality, for example, to find a space for the textile lab. And we included elected representatives in the region in strategic planning workshops and connected with local schools to invite students and teachers to come and use the facilities. We did a lot of outreach events, workshops, open houses, site visits for visitors and groups, but also quite big events like an idea marathon and exhibitions in Reykjavik to get maximum reach. So it's really great to see more and more people know about our hub, to have students and product designers from all over the country to come to Blönduós and work with our digital room and other tools to create felted censors, rugs from leftover local wool and such, like you see in these pictures here. So during the course of CENTRINNO, we started working on establishing a textile cluster, a formal network of stakeholders within textiles in Iceland and beyond. So our hub is a physical space located in specific buildings in Blönduós, one of them being a heritage building with a long history and an address. But there's also the element of the textile center as community first, space after, an ecosystem activator, connecting platform and facilitator for textile education and innovation, connected to a global network of knowledge sharing, which we will explore more in the years to come. That's it for me.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Katarina. And now we, as announced, we move to Geneva, and we leave the floor to Carolina Becker in 1 second. So, Carolina, you can now take the floor.
Hello, thank you very much. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
So from the Geneva pilot, we have been working in this industrial zone within the urban tissue of Geneva. It used to be a precision instruments factory, and later on was bought by the municipality. So the importance of saying that is to tell that the difference is that we had to align our strategies and had to work with the plan of the municipality, even though the municipality is not part of CENTRINNO, is not part of our hub, for example. From the beginning, we already had a dedicated space, a third space for knowledge sharing and community building. But we were eager to transform this into the Fab City Hub, also in a distributed way, gathering stakeholders and bringing together different perspectives from the maker community, from the social inclusion perspective, and from the training, professional training point of view. So the picture shows partially the facade of the building. So the keywords for our hub are reuse, produce, share, train, and inspire. So these are the keywords that can in a nutshell tell the strategy and the vision of this place. It's called the Manufacture Collaborative, is the collaborative manufacture. So it's already a third space that we are eager to call our Fab City Hub. We are where our Fab Lab is located. The overall vision of this place is to foster the sharing of technology and knowledge, the empowerment of the community and individuals to acquire tools and knowledge to produce and consume and to change the methods that they consume, for example, the optimization and rationalization of use of materials and their life cycle, and the experimentation with new production models. So around these visions, we gathered 6 associations together that one complement the other in order to make this shift, or to help understand the shift that can be built around the new model, economic model that we call the circular economy, and bring back the production into the city. About the engagement and the building of the local community, we had to deal with the already existing local craft people that has been working here in the area for the past 30 years. So the idea was, through communication and dissemination of new models and practices related to circular economy and local production, we could find some common grounds and work together. We also dedicated some time to performing workshops and different participating in different events related to circular economy and local production here in Geneva. We also worked through different sets of events, like the Heritage Weekend, for example, to showcase the possibilities around new technologies, new modes of consumption, always using heritage as a driving force or as a catalyst for what could be built in the future, related to our past, to our industrial past, and also by building local partnership to broaden and reach and enrich our activities. These local partnerships are not only locally in the zone established, but also within the Geneva as a whole. And for the strategy of our hub, since I mentioned our space belongs to the municipality, one of the strategies, since it belongs to the municipality and they assigned the space rental free for us for 5 years, our strategy is to try and have yet another 5 years at least, to stay in this place and to sort of prove that this model can work, that this space can be a broker between the municipality and the craft people, and as well as the community. And therefore, we built a strong relationship with the municipality, and we are willing to showcase the results of this 4-year project, and also what our hub has been doing, as well as to experiment new management models, such as shared governance based on the holacracy model, for example, to try to show that new economic models are not only based on consumption, but also how we manage these places and how we foster and boost changes into the producing model of the city. I think this is it.
Thank you very much, Carolina. And now it's time to move to the last but not least city in our network, that is the city of Tallinn. So, Karin, the floor is yours now, please.
Thank you, Pietro. So, hello everybody. My name is Karin Krupp, and I'm in the Tallinn CENTRINNO pilot. And the vision for Tallinn Fab City Hub was to build an experimentation and community center for local resilience and self-sufficiency. So a central theme became grandma and grandpa skills. It was initially made as a joke, but it became quite a serious thing in the long run. And so yeah, the theme was to initially teach and share the skills of grandmothers and grandfathers, their know-how of food production, crafting, building, and repairing. But it wasn't the only aim. It was also about reviving the skills, but upgrading them, relying on permaculture, common space peer production, and design thinking. And all of this was done in order to make Northern Tallinn community more resilient for the future. The team of Tallinn CENTRINNO team was people from Tallinn University of Technology and Tallinn City. And the city provided CENTRINNO team a space, a local abandoned culture house located in Northern Tallinn. In 2021, we rebranded the old heritage site as Kopli 93 Community Center and opened its doors. To get the local community engaged, we first opened a community garden. Then we opened the community apiary. And finally, in 2022, together with the local people, we built, prepared, and opened the first community makerspace of Tallinn. The makerspace is free and open for everyone to use 3 days a week under the assistance of the makerspace master. So far, we have organized hundreds of events for outreach. Those are all in Kopli 93. And it has been like the space, the hub itself has been intensely covered by all kinds of local media channels. So Estonia is quite small, so it's actually not super difficult to get to the media, like national media. The community hub is for that reason quite well known, and it's full of visitors every time we open the doors. But we do not call just any kind of visitor or Facebook page follower our community. The community is a group of around 60 people who are locals, regular visitors, and active contributors. The key step in achieving this group was creating something tangible that connects the place to the people, to the feeling of ownership. This can be also like a gardening box that worked really well in the case of our hub. It can be a beehive, it can be a school project, a building and repair project, and finally the relationships that emerge in the hub itself. But in my opinion, the community garden was actually the biggest glue between the people and the space, because plants are like children, because they require regular care. And since the beginning, our vision has been quite clear. It was to create a physical space for people to spend productive and meaningful time outside of their homes, their work, and their usual entertainment facilities. Today I can proudly say that our vision has come true in the 3 years that we have been spending in CENTRINNO. And COP93 is an innovative new community center in Tallinn, which is owned and governed by the city. So in the case of today, we have the decision made by the city government that they're going to take over COP93's day-to-day operations and financing. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Karin. And please stay with us again as we move to the last panel session. So I'm also inviting Carolina and Katarina that's here to join the panel right here. So basically, I see there is an interesting question popping up in the slide. So everyone, please again go to the slide. The code is in the chat if you have other questions. But there is one question very specific coming from the audience. It is to build a community around circular production. Is it useful to target specific sectors such as the textile or others, or is it not necessary from your point of view? So let's start from Katarina, Carolina, and Karin.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it can be very helpful. In our case, that's very much our focus. So that's the community we would target anyways. It might be different for other pilots. But yeah, that's a great way to start.
Right. Having a precise anchor where to start from. Carolina or Karin?
Well, I don't know if having a specific, I mean, in my vision, having a specific common ground of materials, for example, of wood, textile, but I think one of the key elements is to try and target more communities that are in need of, like, for example, training for future professions, for the job market, or that are somehow in need of to be included in the market and in this new loop of new economic models of any sort. So I think the idea is to work more with the key strategy, not only the material, because the material or the strength, it's going to be related specifically to each locality, to each local. So I can work with wood, we can work with wood and textile here, but then maybe this is not going to apply to Tallinn because they have been working with food, for example. But then what could be the common ground was the targeted community in the sense of including specific parts of the community into these new models and new innovative.
Right. Thank you, Carolina. And Karin, if you want to make one.
I think it's very important to have quite clear strategy of what kind of group of people you want to engage with or engage in your hub. In our case, I can really say that we have like 3 focus areas at this point. We have the garden, we have the makerspace, and we have the apiary. And also we have the CENTRINNO stakeholder group, stakeholder network, let's say. And we actually consider all of those quite like their own communities separately. Of course, they interact and like people are people, they come together and they can still talk to each other. But in order to make them very motivated to participate in the community activities, actions, they have to gain some kind of value in something that you're doing. It's not only about coming together and being cool or coming together and, I don't know, sharing values. It has to be something very practical, something either you can learn or space you can use, a tool you can learn to use. So we have picked quite specific like target groups with every activity that we have. Yes. So, and for example, with the makerspace, we did not decide to target the local makers because most of the makers themselves already have a space. So we targeted people who did not have a space, which was basically just locals who wanted to engage with like some kind of crafts or practical repair works and wanted to learn, but they did not have the tools and not have the space. So that's why we have the makerspace for them.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And I think we can now move to the first of all, to give a big round of applause to all of our 9 pilot representatives. And now we can move to a final question and of final remarks with with Thomas, Ashley, and Carlotta. So those that have opened the session of today, I would kindly ask them to actually give their final remarks and reflections of what they've been hearing throughout the day. So just 2, 3, and I would like to have this as a trigger, basically, for more conversation and other remarks by our other guests. So please, let's start from Ashley, and then Carlotta, and then Tomas.
Thanks, Pietro. Yeah, I think what really struck me, as has struck me throughout the project, is the diversity in examples just within the pilots of CENTRINNO, which of course makes me think about the diversity of Fab City Hubs across the globe. And I think in thinking about spatial strategy, it's interesting that while the pilots are all in formerly industrial areas, you might think that the space or the area then helps dictate how these Fab City Hubs develop their spatial strategy. They're still very, very different in the way that they work with their communities, exchange, yet there's so much commonality. And I think that commonality is really important because we can share those learnings. We can learn from one another. We can share tools and methods and create this exchange. So it was really inspiring for me, there we go, to hear from the different pilots and see the differences, yet the commonalities. And I know this sounds like a very cheesy, we're all in it together kind of moment, but it's really nice to see the exchange. And I really look forward to seeing, one, what these pilots will do after the project, and two, what the greater network around Fab City Hubs will do in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Carlotta?
Yes, thanks, Pietro. I will take it from a different perspective compared to Ashley. I have listed the 3 main aspects that arise from the conversation. I think the access to affordable space is a key mission of Fab City Hubs, and to be the places where community like makers, but also citizens, also craftsmen, start a discussion and start designing option strategies and activity on how to gain space in the city for these activities. The second point that emerged for me is the role of stakeholders, and in particular, the kind of relationship that you could have with the municipality of the city you are acting, but also with other actors, like, for example, the business part is very important. So those that have money, they could invest money in your Fab City Hub or sponsor the activities of Fab City Hub. And then a third aspect that emerged a lot with, for example, the story of Tallinn. But basically, in all the Fab City Hub, we see the importance of the community and the type of people you are speaking out for. I mean, what are the message and the vision your Fab City Hub convey, and for which communities it will speak? That's my wrap up with these 3. I don't know if there are paths for working or a reflection. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carlotta. And then Tomas, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I can take so many learnings. No, I second very much what Ashley and Carlotta have said, of course. No, but I think it's super important context. And in relationship to context, I wanted to make a small annotation that this is of course an EU-funded project, but Fab City working as a global initiative and looking at other realities. This model of Fab City Hubs is going to see like a very interesting twist when it is applied in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, and in other very, very, very different settings. No, I think it's super interesting to learn from the European perspective. But part of the work that we will try to do also is unpacking and see which are those commonalities, as Ashley was referring, that can also be contextualized, and again in a very radically different context, no, in other locations in the world. Also, I wanted to share also that in coming back to this comparison with Fab Labs and being part of of the most of the beginning of the Fab Lab network. Fab Lab Barcelona was Fab Lab number 10 when we opened it. Fab Lab started with a very like a technological principle. No, it's like here's the technology, and then later on we are gonna figure out what we can do. No, it's like first technology first. And I think like at the Fab City Hubs, I think have that interesting, can be positioned themselves, as asking first what is needed in this context. No, it's like what's the question first, and then following to that we can have access to this kind of a different toolboxes of technology, and they apply it into that context. Because I still believe that not only Fab Labs but other type of technologies are going to play a super important role in what's going to be the future of Fab City Hubs. And then very, very finally, I think like there's another thing that we need to recognize, that this is, as you can see, it's a work in progress, right? And I think like there is a lot about this that is related to learning, no? And understanding Fab City Hubs as a learning spaces, I think is super important as well, even to figure out, how they are itself, no? It's like keep this openness in the model, to really keep growing and keep being adapted and keep morphing, no, instead of like trying to be monolithic, no. And actually we have been applying some of these the methodologies that you have been developing in technology, in CENTRINNO, in learning programs already, so this idea of learning is something that I will also like put it on top of the table, and for everyone involved on trying to jump into this crazy initiative and this idea. We all share a little bit of a crazy part of trying to save the world when it seems that it's falling apart. I think like we need to unlearn and relearn first, no, and like keep learning, because it's this needs to be applied and unpacked in many different ways, and things are changing so much faster. So learning for me is like one of the key elements that we need to keep present when doing this type of work.
Thank you, Thomas. And I also find a number of keywords. I don't know if Emanuela De Menna from the European Commission Executive Agency for Research wants to chip in with some comments. But in the meanwhile, I would also highlight one of the core aspects that emerged during today's discussion, is that since all the pilots, all the activities done in establishing the Fab City Hubs in CENTRINNO have been a matter of experimentation, of temporary experimentation, that now that we're approaching the closure of the project, opens a big question of sustainability, of what will be next of our activities. And what I've seen very valuable in the activities of all of our pilots is that they've all been able to prove what is the value and the added value of such innovation projects to the community, to the cities, to the neighbors they live in, as well as to the local economy and the society. And this allowed them to gain a foothold in the policy making and in the urban development arenas. And I think this is one of the very important impacts that we've been able to bring about throughout the project. So I think also like sustainability and becoming an actor of an important actor in the negotiation in city development is a really one of the best results in CENTRINNO. Now, I don't know if there are any other comments from the other participants. Otherwise, I would like to briefly share my screen and ask to the audience to go once again to Slido for a final exercise on a word cloud. So basically, please, what is in one word your main takeaway from today's workshop? We gave you some hints with the panel, of course. I also see Emanuela. So Emanuela, if you want to deliver a message to the audience before we move to the word cloud, please. We're very happy to hear your perspective as well.
Thank you very much, Pietro, and thank you all for these very interesting presentations. I have to congratulate, because you could pack very intense and rich information in such a short time, but it was very lively. So I think also we see from the chat and all the questions that really trace a huge interest. So for me, from my side, it is really to congratulate. It's very interesting, this line of work about the Fab City Hubs, and really what are the key aspects of turning from Fab Labs to Fab City Hubs. And this can be a very, very important legacy of Centrino. And I think that I took notes of many issues that we discussed. So I don't have a specific comment, just that it was a very, very rich and enriching for me and inspiring. And all these discussion also about the scales, if it's neighborhood, if it's city, if it's regional, and if it is a community driven or technological driven. So very important. I think there's something that maybe you can also explore somehow. I don't know, but it's how much you're dealing, or if there are experiences also with artificial intelligence, because it is something that now is popping up a little bit everywhere. I don't know if you have something on this. If it will be, I mean, in the next. In the final parts of Centrino. And my main point is more on the organization of the last part of the project. So of course, the reporting, the deliverables, the legacy. I really encourage you to organize something as a closure of the project to disseminate these results, because it is very interesting, and to have also on board the municipalities and the authorities that collaborated with you. That somehow were your counterparts during this project, because you discussed a lot about how these hubs can influence local policymaking. So I would really encourage you to think about the legacy and starting the dissemination from really involving these parts in the dialogue, and also in some official activities. I would be delighted to have an event online if you cannot do in presence with all the results of the project. It deserves. So this is my main comment.
Thank you, Manuela. I think somehow also this workshop series was a bit a way of sharing the results while the project was going on. And throughout this whole workshop series, we actually been able to give space to all of the 9 pilots, not only today, but also thematically. All the pilots have been invited to present their activities under each of the specific key concepts of Centrino. But definitely, I know that this engagement, this process of engagement with urban authorities, with local authorities, is fundamentally, it is a key, and it's actually part of the work we're actually doing also with the Fab City Foundation in making sure that the legacy of Centrino is not something that we just leave behind, but it's something we can build upon in the future. Now, I would just go quickly back to my share screen with the results from the word cloud that has grown. Meanwhile, we're speaking, and I think, like, yeah, almost obviously the word community is one that stands out the most. And well, I'm really happy because there was the aim for us, for all of us, to actually build a big community around the Fab City Hubs throughout all of our cities. So while we are approached to the end of today's event, I want to thank very much all of the speakers of today, Thomas, Ashley, Carlotta, all of the representatives from the pilots. So Milena, Liat, Alexandra, Sophie, Ida, Roberto, Caterina, Carolina, and Karin. And a special thanks goes to Flavio, who is in you see him in the background, but he has been doing a lot of working and making this workshop very much possible. I see more words coming up. It's also learning, and it's very true that we've been learning a lot throughout this process. Unresolved space problems, these are our core challenging, and policy impact. And probably with our policy impact, we can go and resolve some of the space problems that we do have. So I would like to thank you very much. With this event, we close this series after almost 9 months of workshops and activities. I'm very happy for how this all event went, and I would like, just for you, if you agree, to all turn your cameras on so we can take one final family picture of today's event. And once I see every camera's popped on, I will take a screenshot. And here we go. So smile again. And 3, 2, 1, cheese. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us during this series. Thank you very much for your active participation and the questions. Please follow us. Keep following the activities and the website of CENTRINNO. Of course, our toolkit is available on the CENTRINNO website. And let me take this opportunity also to mention another important document that we released in collaboration with our sister projects, T-Factor and Habin, which is a policy report that builds on the challenges that the 3 projects have experienced in the implementation of their activities during the past 3 years. We identified a number of mutual challenges, and we draw 9 policy recommendations on how to address those challenges. And you can find the policy report on CENTRINNO website in the blog. Maybe we can also put the link into the chat box now. And it's important because we also present nearly 25 case studies in support to our policy recommendations. So I would leave you with the recommendation to keep following our work, because CENTRINNO is not over yet, and our activities are there to stay and to make an impact also in the future. So thank you very much, everyone, and wishing you a great afternoon.
Thank you.